Today, we're stepping into one of the most beautiful corners of the Greenbrier with garden expert Carmen Johnston to see the secrets behind these incredible gardens.
Carmen, I am so excited to see you and talk about the gardens here. And you've had a little time here.
Yes, we've been here for a few weeks and I can't wait to show off some of the beautiful things here.
Gosh.
There's so many incredible plants. There's so many incredible things that are southern here. But you know, the Greenbrier has over 11,000 acres.
That is amazing.
And their maintenance team plants thousands of annuals every single year, thousands of tulips every single fall. So you've got to come in the, to come see them in the spring. Yes.
And let me tell you guys, this place is immaculate. And so how long have you been in landscape design?
So I've been designing gardens for over 15 years.
Wow.
And when I come here, I'm always like, ooh, eyeing over all the different things because they do so many things right.
Well, what I think is so fun is I don't really know my stuff in the garden. So I'm probably gonna ask a lot of the questions that other people are curious about. So one of the things I know that the Greenbrier is known for are their boxwoods.
I mean, Emily, they are absolutely incredible. So we're standing next to what I like to call the southern staples, like the arms around a garden.
Yes.
This is the traditional American boxwood. But if you look over that way, and if you go up close to the hotel, you will see boxwoods that are 10 to 20 feet tall. They have been here for like 50, 80 years. They are a southern staple in every garden, and it's something that I always love to use to anchor our gardens. And you will see here, we're at the main entrance, and there is a boxwood hedge. So what I like to call, it's always the bones. They've done a great job of building the bones. So if you are gardening at home, you always want to start with the bones first.
So is this kind of indicative of like an English style?
Right, this is more of like, this is a parterre garden. What you have here are beautiful cherry trees that form an allée.
Oh my gosh, that's a reason for the spring.
And then you've got your boxwood hedge. And so that is, like I said, the arms of the garden, and it's that evergreen structure. So even if you're a home gardener and you are just starting out gardening, always focus on your bones first. Now, boxwoods, we're struggling with them a lot in the South, so you could always use what we call the Japanese holly.
Okay.
The Japanese holly is not a boxwood. It looks like a boxwood, but it's something that you could also use to build the bones in the garden. And it works in so many different zones as well. But you always want to start with building a foundation, build your bones.
And so I know you just mentioned the annuals. I have to go take a look at these. They are so gorgeous, and I just love the way that they did all the shaping here. I wouldn't even know where to start doing a planter this large.
Well, the first place you always want to start when you're planting your annuals is you want to choose what we call the workhorses in the garden.
Okay.
Okay. And these plants are truly the workhorses. And let's just talk about a few of them, and we'll walk around so you can see. So the first one here, this is your sun patient.
Okay.
Now your sun patient is a water hog.
Oh.
She loves water, but if you keep her well hydrated, and we've gotten a lot of rain up here, and she's taken it very well. She loves that at least 6 to 8 hours of full intense sun. And she comes, as you can see, around the property, you'll see her in dark, like hot pink, light pink, red, orange. She just comes in so many beautiful colors.
Oh, amazing.
So that's one of my favorite plants I love to use.
What looks good too is you can put them together pretty tight, but they look like they get tall and really fill in well.
They fill in very well. So you will see what we call, this is planted on an 8-inch center.
Okay.
So this is an 8-inch or about 8 to 12-inch center. And yes, they get usually about 2 to 3 feet tall.
Oh my
now,
gosh.
At the Greenbrier, we're in West Virginia, White Sulphur Springs. So they had a really late frost. And a lot of people up north had a late frost. So they had to wait and plant a little bit later.
Okay.
They had to wait and plant. So that's why things are not as big right now. But sun patient is your first workhorse in the garden. Now, you're going to see this right here. That other plant back there is your begonias. That is another incredible workhorse in the garden. And you're gonna see that's a bronze leaf begonia. See how the leaves are like that bronzy?
Yes, I've never seen that before.
You're gonna see it in a lot of garden beds, but if all of the flowers I'm talking about are fabulous in beds, but also in your containers.
So would you call White Sulphur Springs a little bit more cooler climate?
Yes, they are definitely. So I live in Atlanta.
Yes.
And we are 8A, 8B. Okay.
Yes.
And White Sulphur Springs, I want to say it's like 7 or 6. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but it definitely is a cooler climate. So But these all work very well in the heat. So my friends in Texas, our friends in Atlanta who are getting that heat wave, these can definitely take it.
And what I know we talked about when we were on your porch about chartreuse
There you
in
go.
every garden, and we are literally getting to see exactly that in practice here. So this chartreuse is beautiful. I do not recognize this plant.
So this is what we call Duranta, and it's either Duranta or Joseph's coat. Either one works, but anytime you're planting a garden, you always want to make sure you add either a pop of chartreuse green or white.
Okay.
If you don't add one of those colors, it's going to make the garden look flat, is what we call it.
Oh, okay.
So you always need to add that chartreuse, that pop, or that white, because it helps everything contrast better together.
And another thing that I really like is this little accent here in the very middle.
That's an alocasia, and that's like a tropical plant. You always want to have a focal point because that's going to draw your eyes straight to it. So they've done a fabulous job designing all the beds. Another plant, now this is the blue plant, looks kind of bluish purple.
I feel like I've seen this in flower arrangements.
Yes, you have. That's called azuratum, and that works great as a cut flower. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, Emily, because one of the reasons why I love a lot of these plants is because I love to create snip and clips.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I'm having guests over, anytime friends and family are coming over, I love to just grab them, snip and clip them, put them in a bud vase, and they last great for a few days because they can take the heat, so they're going to last longer.
So beautiful. There is so much ground to cover, and I know you've gotten to stay here for a couple of weeks, so I'm sure that you know where all the right spots are for us to visit.
We're going to show you all the beautiful trees. I'm going to show you some more beautiful annual beds, and then we'll end up down by the golf course.
Okay, so this is the front entrance, and it is absolutely stunning, and it definitely gets all the star attention right when you come in. So let's go and check out one of the other areas.
Let's do it.
Okay, so where are we now? Because this looks just like the entrance.
This is the north entrance.
Okay.
And so this is where you can get access to the candy shop, all the shop
I've
corridors.
seen that.
Oh, yeah. And then you also can go inside, go to the left, and there's the beautiful indoor pool. So,
it's so
the
pretty.
North entrance is my favorite garden here of the whole entire property because I love like how intimate and everything looks. But one thing I want to show y'all that I just want to make sure y'all know about this is the begonias. Remember how we were talking about the begonias?
We saw some, but they were different at the front.
So this is also the bronze leaf begonia that also can take the shade.
What?
So those
is it a different varietal?
No, it's the same begonia.
Really?
But just know that the begonia can take the sun and the shade. I think that's just a great
fact. And I will say, am I crazy here, or are the leaves a different color in the shade?
You made such a great point. So they are. They stay green when they're in the shade, and they turn that bronzy color when they get out in the sunshine.
Oh, and I think that they look really beautiful in the shade.
It's one of my favorite plants. That begonias come in white, red, and pink, and they're just absolutely stunning. Now again here you will see, we've got our beautiful box, we've got our bones, and we have to point out this is the state flower of West Virginia.
This looks familiar, and you know what? When I did my interior tour, I think that this was all over the fabrics that Dorothy Draper had created for this property.
This is the rhododendron.
It is beautiful.
It's absolutely stunning, and it's what we like to say in the azalea family, but something that's very important about when you're planting, also nicknamed rhodos. When you're planting the rhodos is you want to plant them high so they won't die. If you plant them low, they won't grow.
It's really huge. I mean, are these pretty established?
They are. I mean, these have probably been here for probably about 10 years, and they're absolutely stunning. And what's beautiful about West Virginia and the Allegheny Mountains is as you're driving through in May, they're native here. So you will see them blooming everywhere. It's just absolutely stunning.
Literally, the grounds of West Virginia in general are beautiful, but it's amazing to get to come to a place that's this immaculate and well done, that they know how to plant everything. So rhododendron, it looked more like a shaded plant.
It is. It likes the shade. And now those are
these?
Those are your azaleas.
Oh, beautiful.
So those are just your traditional azaleas, your indica.
And what's this other hedge over here?
That is yew, and YEU, and that is something that you see in a lot of French gardens And they're everywhere here because they can take the harsh cold weather. Because remember, we are in West Virginia and they do get a lot of snow. They get rather cold here.
We were talking about coming back for Christmas, and they said that they get a pretty darn good snow, and they even can do some skiing here.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. Now we are not skiers, but a lot of families, our friends love to come here and ski as well. Now remember, this is again that pop of that chartreuse green.
But this also is chartreuse over here in the center.
Now, it
looks different.
This is what we call Angelina sedum.
Okay.
And Angelina sedum, y'all, if you live in Texas, if you live that intense summer heat, it's actually a succulent. And
I was going to say, I think I've seen this before in the South.
It is fabulous. It works great in
Let me
beds.
see this.
It works great in containers.
Look how thick that is.
Y'all, it is so if you cannot grow anything, this is the plant that you have got to sprinkle and use in your beds. Now sprinkle that right there, just right in through there. Y'all, what's my favorite thing about that plant is it will take root and it will spread very nice and easily.
But so with that, does this come back every year?
Now, in certain areas, it's a perennial, and she will come back. So I love to use her in different pathways and different things.
Amazing.
But because they get too cold, it won't come back.
So they must spread pretty well, though.
Yes, yes, and it's great in containers, but I love it for my new gardeners.
Yes,
because
like me.
It's such a great plant. But look at the shape of this. They planted this in the shape of a star.
I noticed that.
To celebrate America 250.
Did they really?
Yeah, yeah. And then you'll see again, they're repeating the same colorway.
Yes.
You've got those gorgeous sun patience and the begonias. And that's something I think that's very important when you're developing a garden bed, is you want to have rhythm and consistency.
Yeah.
So if you look over in this bed, you will see the same colorway being used.
Right, but with a couple different plants.
Exactly. So you've got the begonias, the sun patience, the duranta, but then they mirrored some of that same colorway over here, but they just changed out that chartreuse green color to give it that variety and interest.
It's gorgeous. And by the way, I think I'm also spotting one of your favorite flowers.
Yes. So y'all, this is like one of the top questions that we always get, and we're gonna walk back here and talk about it, hydrangeas. It's like one of the things that every southern garden has.
Yes.
But a lot of people are struggling with them this year because we've gotten so much rain.
Hot.
Yes, it's been so hot. But just remember that hydrangeas love lots and lots and lots of water. Hydra meaning hydrangea.
Oh, see, I never put that together before.
Yes, and there's several different types of hydrangea. So you've got your paniculatas.
Okay.
And your paniculatas are the hydrangeas that you're about to look over right here.
Are these the pink ones?
Yes, so that is like
Those
a Pinky
are
Winky
beautiful.
or Firelight.
Now,
And
can we plant this in the South?
Yes, 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 yes,
Oh
yes.
my
you can plant this in the
gosh.
South. And then the center is my absolute favorite one. That is a limelight hydrangea.
And limelights get really big.
They do get big, so I'm so glad that you brought that up because it's so important that when you're planting hydrangeas, you plant the right plant in the right place.
Oh,
But
wow.
remember, limelights need at least 6 to 8 hours of full sun. If you plant a limelight in the shade, you're not going to get that beautiful color. So
Really?
it's very important to plant those hydrangeas, the paniculatas, in the sun. Now,
And these look young.
yeah, well,
Like
they
the
are.
blooms.
They are. Just because remember they had a late frost up here, so they're not in full bloom. Now in my garden back in Georgia, everything's in full bloom right now.
Yeah.
So it's just we're a little bit, a few weeks behind up here.
So they were their spring was probably in June.
Yes, correct. They just had a late season. Now remember that also is a great plant to harvest and to dry. A lot of people are always asking me how to
Yes.
dry hydrangeas.
And what would you suggest? I mean, these, like I said, they look like young blooms. So do we wait until they're totally bloomed out to clip them?
Emily, you're so right. What you want to do is you want them to be like what we call a papery, like a limey green color.
Oh.
Cut them, remove all the leaves off, put them in a bucket of water, put a tablespoon of bleach in there,
Oh,
let them sit in there.
bleach.
Yes, because it will keep the water nice and clean and they'll dry
Oh.
out. But I just love the hydrangeas and they're one of my
gorgeous.
favorites.
And I have to ask you a question that I've been curious about since I got here because I've never seen this type of pine tree before.
Oh,
and
my
it
goodness.
almost looks like a sleepy pine, but it is so beautiful and they're all over.
So that's the Norway spruce.
It is gorgeous. And
Aren't they
that
beautiful?
tree is taller than the hotel.
I know, it's probably
which is
been
hard
here
to do
for years, and it's right next to one of my favorites, which is a saucer magnolia.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And that is a southern staple, and that is what I like to say that is always one of the first signs of spring. You know, that tree that's that really beautiful pink, it's that pale pink, it's got that really big blossom.
With the big blooms.
Yes, that is what that is. It's a saucer magnolia. And that's one of the reasons why you have to come to the Greenbrier throughout the different seasons. Crabapple trees, the aloe over there, the saucer magnolias, the cherry trees. In the springtime, there's always something in bloom, including the thousands and thousands and thousands of tulip bulbs that they plant every single year.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. Well guys, it doesn't matter what season that you plan to come and visit, I promise you every nook and cranny has been touched by their gorgeous garden team. And you never know, you may just see Carmen lurking around the gardens.
Thanks so much for joining Carmen and me as we explored the breathtaking gardens here at the Greenbrier. From beautiful blooms and practical gardening tips, I hope you found plenty of inspiration to bring home. And here's a little secret. If you're visiting the Greenbrier, you may just find Carmen in the gardens. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.